Nick Friedell, River Islands guest line, with us on YouTube as well. Yeah. How about now, right? How about now? They brought in Yaxel Lundeborg. You didn't see that coming.
Scoreboard.
Uh-huh.
I just want to make sure you guys can hear me because I built it up like 3 times the other day, and then I froze and I was losing my mind. So are we all good technically?
We're liking it early.
Yeah, you look like you're back in your spot with your Cubs hat on, and so all is right in the world, Nick.
I like that. What I don't like, Mr. Willard, is as I've been listening to the station and I've been on social media, I have told you guys for years, I respect the hell out of the loyalty and the interest of the fan base out in the Bay. I mean, people love this team. They love what Steph has done. I've just been surprised, I have to tell you, at just how much people are losing their minds over the last couple months and the lack of activity for this team. I mean, I hope we have plenty of time to get into anything you guys want to get into. But as I look at now what's happened, especially now that the Draymond thing is official, this is about what I was expecting all along. I mean, the LeBron thing would have been a bonus, but I don't think anybody within the Warriors, at least top level, was like, oh, yeah, that's going to happen. It felt like maybe there was a chance. But this is about where I thought they would be, and it's because Jimmy Butler got hurt. They don't have a lot of cap flexibility at the present time, and they don't want to load up into the future with guys that they aren't sure on. So I feel the intensity, and I can understand and appreciate why people are frustrated. But if people really thought that there was some move that was going to take them from where they are as the 10 seed and put them back into at least the conversation with the San Antonios and the OKCs, good luck to you, because I never thought that was going to happen. And now we're through basically the end of July, and we are where we are as a whole.
And where we are is with a win total of 39.5, according to most books, and you're heading for mediocrity most likely, or as Anthony Slater said, stagnation in his piece today. So is it as simple, Nick, as, all right, Warrior fans, wait until February and hope you can swing something then?
Yeah. I mean, Mr. Dibbs, that's basically where it's at. But this is where, and we can go into negative Nick, and I can't see the positive. We can go into all of that. Jimmy Butler makes almost $60 million. Jimmy Butler tore his ACL the second that happened, and that was January 19th, guys. The writing was all over the wall. And to all the people that because I was sitting there with Grandy a few weeks ago, and we took calls for 4 hours, and I could feel where all this was headed. And now they didn't get LeBron, and people are so pissed off. But I was trying to explain that day, like, if you're $60 million man, one of two max guys on your team, if he gets hurt, that's it. And if you really think that Jaylen Brown for 4 first-round picks was going to make that much of a difference, I can't help you. Anthony Davis. Like, are you kidding me? I think that's what's so frustrating, having watched this team night to night last year, guys, and why I was starting to get so frustrated the other day before I got cut off. They're not that good. They're just not that good. And so if somebody thought that you should pour in your first-round picks and get some kind of name in here and that was going to close the gap that much, it's not. And first-round picks are more valuable than they've ever been in the league. So the idea that you're going to trade some first-round picks and, let's get a little bit better, and what does that do? That just screws you for down the line. So I think that's where I stand. I was lucky enough to have a job that allowed me to watch these games every night. And I think that this team, and it's such a huge if they can stay healthy, is better than what they showed last season. And that's what Dunleavy said in his press conference after the year ended all along. But the idea that they were one big swing away from getting close to where they've been, or that they're doing such a disservice to Steph at 38 with a chronic knee injury that they have messed this up so badly, and people call into the station every day going nuts. I just don't see what everybody else does in that regard.
Nick Friedell with us here, Willard and Dibs at 95.7 The Game. All right, let's pull that apart a little bit. Your Jaylen Brown comment, I think, at 4 first-round picks is well accepted. What I hear from a lot of people, and so for that reason I want you to answer this, is they're very much highlighting that statement of the Celtics called, the Warriors didn't like the price, and that was the end of that. Nobody ever talked to anybody ever again. Like, should the Warriors have at least stayed engaged in that conversation, knowing what Jaylen ended up going for, which was much cheaper?
Mark, the way I would answer that is I've talked to a lot of people around the league, and I would go back to something my old colleague and friend Bobby Marks said, and this was at this point probably 6 weeks ago, but he said, there are analytics departments around the league that say, Jaylen Brown just isn't as good as he appears to be. There are plenty of people in the league that appreciate and respect Jaylen Brown's game. They see the way that he has continued to improve over the last couple of years, but they just don't see him as some kind of number one piece on a title team. And that's why, I never want to get into a situation where I am sitting there going, if only they had done this and that had happened over and over. Specific to Jaylen Brown, and Mark, we can go through all of them if you want, all the possibilities. I looked at what the Warriors could have done and the conversations that clearly never got that serious, and I went, I think that was a really smart move. When you look at the rest of the money on his contract, and that's what I can't stress enough in all of this. If you're giving up, and to your point, Mark, let's play it out, 2 first-round picks, 3 first-round picks. I mean, Jimmy getting hurt absolutely hurt whatever deal they were going to make in general. But if you're giving away 2 or 3 first-round picks, it has got to be for a guy that is going to take you to some next level. There are far too many people in the league, as much as they respect Jaylen Brown, that don't believe that's the case. And then Warriors fans, because I've been trying to talk to a few of them on Twitter actually the last week, because I'm in such disbelief that the fervor has reached this level. They say, if you had traded for Jaylen Brown, then you get LeBron. One, we don't know that for sure, but let's play that out. And this has been my point all along in the last couple of weeks with this conversation. Guys, if you took Jimmy out, you plug Jaylen Brown in, you gave up, for argument's sake, let's say it was 3 first-round picks. Let's say they whittled it down there. And you plug LeBron on that team. Of course they're better. They are a much better team than what we've seen. I can only speak for myself, though. That team is not good enough. They're still not good enough. They're more interesting, for sure. And they're a hell of a lot more fun to watch than what we just saw last year and what it appears like we're going to see going into next year. But Jaylen Brown's deal is gigantic. There's a reason Boston wanted to move off of him. In that regard, I absolutely understand why the Warriors did what they did, because I don't view him, and there are a lot of people around the league that would agree with me, as the centerpiece or close to it of a title team. And that's the problem I have in this discourse. People want to make moves for moves' sake because they say, we just watched this team. This team's not good enough. I don't want to watch it again. But just because you make a move doesn't make you that much better. And I think that's the conclusion that the Warriors on the whole came to, not just with Jaylen Brown, but with a slew of these different things that we can go through now.
And I also look at the other side of the deal, which is Boston is fancying themselves as a team that probably still wants to be good, so they weren't going to take on a currently broken Jimmy Butler in this deal. And Slater was reporting that he had heard that Yaxel would have had to be a part of it, and so you're shoveling away future picks and a guy in the present who looks pretty good. Let me ask you this, Nick. How many of those type of players are out there and are potentially available, difference makers who teams are going to want to get rid of.
Well, Dibs, this is another layer of the conversation that's been ongoing all along, because the guy that you're describing and that we're talking about is Giannis. And if Warriors fans want to be pissed, there's a lot of reason for them to be upset right now. But if you really want to be that upset, you're upset that they completely whiffed on James Wiseman and they whiffed again on Kuminga. Because, guys, those are the two pieces that would have allowed you to plug in however many other first-round picks you wanted and to have landed Giannis. So, Dibs, how many of those guys are out there? There aren't a lot of them, as we know. But in this whole core of, okay, what about this guy and what about that guy? That's the guy, if you're a Warriors fan, that you have every right to really, really be frustrated by that they couldn't make it happen. Because they couldn't make it happen because they whiffed so badly on those two picks. I want to be real clear. The Warriors have made mistakes. You can blame Kerr and Lacob and Bob Myers and Dunleavy, and they deserve every bit of whiffing on those two picks. Again, where I want to at least have everybody take a deep breath is when you look at this summer, I don't see them having like all these missteps. Like, they're still going to try to go after a whole bunch of guys. If they're any good and Steph physically is doing fine a few months in and they have a good record, they're going to be in every conversation. But specific to this summer, when you just break down what could happen, I don't see this as some kind of major point of a meltdown for the fan base. I mean, people are just losing it. And I think that Steph has spoiled them rotten. I mean, guys, 4 rings. Nobody wants to hear that part. And he's still an all NBA player. He's awesome, but he missed half the games. He's got a knee injury that's not going away. It's not going to disappear. So all of this is part of a broader conversation. But Dibs, any one of these other players, they're going to improve the team, but only to a point. And I think from a broader standpoint, if you're the Warriors, you're not giving away your future in the form of all these first-round picks unless you are sure that that player is going to make you that much better. And there just aren't a lot of those guys out there.
Nick, can I run something by you that is my perception, and I want you to let me know if this is reality or not. It right now, last couple of years, has become this annual thing, which is there's a fringe of people that will say, maybe they ought to actually entertain trading Steph. And then there's another faction of people that are like, boy, he's pissed. He's definitely, like, I know he won't say it, but he is not pleased with this. And the more I hear it, and then the more I listen to guys like you, my perception is this is a completely concocted subject that is totally made up by everyone who is not in the organization at all. Steph is fine. The Warriors would never trade him, and he's not even thinking about leaving. Is that accurate?
Mark, if Steph were that pissed, Steph would go to Joe Lacob and say, hey, help me get out of here. All he has said repeatedly to me, to everybody that covers that team through the years, I want to play in one place and I want to wear one jersey. And if he's that upset over the course of the next year, then he's going to ask out. But I would also tell you, and again, this is where I feel like people are just losing their minds in the last week. You don't think that Mike Dunleavy is having at least a conversation with Steph Curry on a regular basis about what's going on? You don't think that Steph knows that they've tried to get all these different guys? I mean, let's go back like a year plus ago, guys. I thought Kevin Durant was coming back to the Warriors. I think the Warriors thought Kevin Durant was coming back to the Warriors. And then right at the end, it didn't happen. Go back a couple more years. I thought Paul George was like, all right, it's going to happen. I'm coming to the Warriors. And then the Clippers wouldn't sign off on it. It's not for a lack of effort. And that's why, do I think Steph's frustrated that he's still playing at this level and there's only so much they can do? Absolutely. He's a competitive guy. He wants to win. But the idea that the Warriors are operating one way and not having at least an ongoing conversation with the star of stars and the guy that makes it all go, I just don't buy that at all. And I mean, I throw this in there, and people are going to go nuts either way, and they're going to have their opinion. Mark, I've covered the league for almost 20 years now. I have seen what bad ownership looks like. I covered the Bulls for 10. I mean, people want to get pissed off about something. Try being a Bulls fan. They don't want to spend. People can get all mad at Lakem for getting too involved in the draft stuff and wanting certain guys. I get that. But that dude spends. You don't think the other players, you don't think Steph Curry knows that? I mean, for all the flaws, like, it could be way, way worse as far as how things are lined up. So only Steph knows how he feels. He talked to my friend Marcus Thompson the other day in Arkansas, and I got the sense in reading those quotes that he is confident that they're going to find their way. And I think he's trying to figure out, do I want to get that extension lined up coming up in August? We'll see. But I just don't buy that Steph is so angry and he's so hurt by the fact that the cap situation is what it is, and Jimmy's injury and Moses Moody's injury is what it is, that he is just going to have a complete fit. First of all, that's not his personality. And secondly, he wants to try and make it work, and he wants to make it work here. And I don't buy that there's some kind of whole soap opera going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, I don't think that that'd be the case either. And you mentioned before about the fans being spoiled, and I have an almost 4-year-old daughter, and she is spoiled. And once you spoil something, you can't unspoil them. So the Warrior fans, we're used to going to Hawaii for 2 weeks every summer and playing until June. And now all of a sudden we got 3 nights at the KOA campground at fill-in-the-blank city. And so it's not what we've been expecting. So are we ever going back to Hawaii, Nick?
It's going to be very, very hard to see Hawaii again, Mr. Dibbs. I think that the Warriors are too proud of an organization that has a standard for themselves that to write them off completely, I don't think that's right. Guys, I'll tell you what I think the biggest question is moving forward. Now that we're through the LeBron-a-thon and whatever happened with however many teams he's talking to, he's going to Philly. The next biggest question to me is Draymond and Jimmy are now locked in for one more year. They have both said they want to be here for the rest of their careers. Are they willing to take less to do it? How much less would that be? Because Steph's going to get paid. He's still a max guy. Pods potentially is going to get very paid here before the season starts. Guy Santos is at $5 million. Yaxel's on his rookie deal. Will Richards still in there. And you've got Melton and Horford for a couple more years. Where else are they going to be able to go get other players to come in here and get high-level guys unless those two guys are willing to take less moving forward? And again, only they know the answer. I mean, Draymond has said repeatedly he wants to finish his career as a Warrior. Okay, but Draymond no longer is a $27 million a year player. I think we all agree on that. That was just out of loyalty that they made that deal happen. So all of this is fascinating, but the overreaction, I don't want to say I'm shocked, guys, because I know the passion is there, but given the cap circumstances and given the possibilities and what it would take to acquire one of these guys with all the picks, I just cannot believe that people thought they were one piece away or a couple pieces away from being that much different from where they are. And I hear people say, well, I just don't want them to be the 10 seed again. I want them to go into the playoffs and have a chance. And that's fine. But what did they screw up so badly this summer that is impossible to fix going into January and February? I mean, that's where I get lost. Again, you want to get mad? They whiffed on Wiseman, and it was awful. And it has set them back. And they whiffed on Kuminga. And man, oh man, was last summer a mess. And maybe back in time a couple years ago, they should have unloaded that deal. And that is on them. That is on Joe Lacob and Bob Myers and Kerr. That's their fault. But specific to right now, I just can't get into the outrage that seems to be enveloping. It's not all the fan base, but it's a big chunk of it.